Okay, so good evening to one and all present here. Welcome to the third session of Inspire, Entrepreneurs Inspire Us. Today we will be talking about raising capital for startups. In order to guide us through this topic, we have with us a very special guest, Mr. Aditya Arora. So let me begin with introducing him to you all. He has been recognized as a successful young entrepreneur and achiever on various national and international platforms. He has been invited to speak and deliver guest lectures at 300 plus institutions globally and has won many prestigious awards for his work. Some of them include Parliamentary Award, Duke of Edinburgh International Award, Microsoft Top 15 Changemakers of India, Rex Karamveer Chakra by the United Nations, Youngest Nominee for Padma Shri 2020, and many more. Currently, he is the CEO at FAR Network Private Limited. FAR is an early-stage investor network hand-holding startups with the access to the right network and capital. He is also a mentor at AIM, Atal Innovation Mission, an initiative by the Government of India. He is a multitasker and a very efficient one at that. He has achieved a lot of success and appreciation in his journey. I'm sure he has a lot to share and teach. Over to you, sir.
Yep. Thank you so much, Shruti, for that generous introduction. And a very warm welcome to everyone who's joined in. A very warm good evening, and hope all of you are taking care of yourself. It's kind of tough times for us all again. But I think if we utilize this time to our core and make ourselves as better, well-rounded individuals at the end of the day, then I think we can utilize any bad time to a good time. So yeah, but for I think the startup ecosystem as a whole, it's a very good time. In fact, 2021, if I talk about, has been a fantastic year, right, for all of us. So yeah, if I talk about numbers from the past year, right, almost $36 billion went into investments for capital. So startups in total in India raised $36 billion. The year before that, they had just raised $11 billion. So almost 3 times growth in just the last year itself. I think it's been really amazing. If I talk about unicorns, or as we talk about businesses which cross $1 billion valuation, close to 43 businesses in India last year went into the unicorn status itself. Over the course of, if you combine from 2014 to even 2019, the total number of unicorns would not stack up to 43. But last year alone itself, we had 43 unicorns. I can go on and talk about such good things which are happening in the Indian startup ecosystem, and so much that startups are now coming on TV, right? We have Shark Tank India, which comes 9 p.m. on national television on the biggest channel that is out there for the Indian market, which is Sony, and on 9 p.m., which is a prime time slot. And these are the days I started my journey before, right? That one day I won't have to explain what I do. So in fact, Shark Tank India in one way has given a kind of a recognition that my parents have finally understood what I exactly do. So it's a good thing, and I think well-deserved as well. So startups doing some really groundbreaking work, and so many entrepreneurs go through so much of hustle and so much of struggle that at the end of the day, they need smile and appreciation as well, right? So yes, on a fantastic note, we are talking about what are startups, and even to give you to add a bit of personalized flavor of what we did last year. So an year to before, of course, last year, we had raised capital for only about 8 startups, right? And we were thinking how to, of course, be more aggressive, because if you're funding 8 startups in a year, it's kind of a bit of a low number. Last year, we went all berserk and we kind of funded somewhere around 28 companies, right? So we 3x'd our growth as well last year, and we invested more capital. So much so that we also, in fact, just recently won Economic Times Top 10 Angel Investors for 2021, and far proud to say that we were one of them, right, in the list. So it's been an amazing, of course, as I said, it's been an amazing year for the whole ecosystem. It's been an amazing year for us as well. Last year, I started investing my own capital as well, and I invested in close to about 17 companies myself as well. Would have never thought that when I'll start my journey at the age of 17 while in college, growing up to 24, I'll lead a VC firm. I'll invest my capital. I'll uh, I'll have a social media following. People would call me by the far guy. I would have never thought, of course, not at all, right? And I know everyone who comes and says like that, but if you hear my journey, then you would relate to it as well, because I don't come from an entrepreneurial background, right? I'm the first generation entrepreneur from my family. And Investing, startups, and everything is something which no one in my family has even closely experienced, right? So, and the reason I say this, it was a tough move for me, is because I went to a very good business school, right? I made myself in the top tiers which are out there. I gave a competitive exam. I gave interviews. I gave group discussions. So that entire hustle of going to a B school, I went there to my dream school, and not getting a job, not sitting for placements from there. I think that was the toughest decision I made, right? And then working with FAD, then of course doing with FAD, which is a very small, which was a very small, of course, investor network back then. Very, very tough. And these are just time oriented differences. Look at the age oriented differences as well, right? They say that when you are in the business of raising capital, you cannot have black hair, right? You should always have white hair. But fortunately for me, since I was 19 years old, all my hairs were black, right? The only white thing that I had in my life was ambitions, right? I was chasing a white success. So yeah, that is of course with which we started. But I think rules are meant to be broken. So now, of course, when people see that there is a VC at the age of 24 in India, people begin to realize that nothing is kind of impossible, right? And all you need to do is just chase wherever your crazy dreams take away, and something will happen, right? It's been kind of a blockbuster story, from not having capital myself to raising capital, and that too almost to the tune of 12 to 13 million dollars till date, startups. So it's kind of of course, very intriguing, very hard journey. But that being said, I don't want to make it all about myself and my journey. I want to, since so many people are there in the session, I want to keep it a bit short and take more Q&As, because this is in an area where you'd love questions coming in. So I'll speak for the next 10 odd minutes or something just on how you raise capital, just the basic aspect of it. I'll cover the nuances, the landscape of how a startup goes on raising capital. I'll also add a personalized experience on why startups fail in raising capital, or what do they do wrong when they set out to go raise capital. And then we can take up all the questions which are out there and not make it very, very lecture type. I always like to keep it interactive. So, see, raising capital is one aspect for a startup, which is, of course, the aspect which contributes to the growth. So if you are raising money, you're not raising it to keep it in your pocket. You're raising it to invest somewhere and to get the growth, right? So therefore, whenever you set out to raise capital, and you need to have a story, right? That why I need this capital and what will I do with this capital. Think from the point of view of investor. If you are an investor, you invest in a startup, you are taking a lot of risk. It's the riskiest investment you are making. You could have invested that money in a bank and get 4% returns. It was low, but you would have still gotten a short return. You could have invested that in an FD, given you again 4-5% returns. You could have invested that money in stock market. Again, if you were doing it right, it could have given 10 to 12% return. You could have invested that money in gold, would have again give you in some return. So you could have invested that money everywhere, but you are investing this money in a startup where you're not getting immediate returns. You're getting returns after 3 or 5 years and a startup does well. So the probability is 50-50, like very clear. Either startup goes big or either startup shuts down, right? There's no surety on it. So then when you are in such a risky investment, then you need to convince investors even more on your story, on your market which you are building, on the product you have, and on your vision, that we are small right now, but we don't want to be small for all along. We want to become big one day. And this is how we will become big. This is our path to scalability. This is our path to profitability. Again, and I'm quoting up terms, but in a matter, this is our story of becoming big. If I'm having, let's say, 10 customers right now, this is my story to get 1,000 customers in the next 4 to 5 months. This is my story to get, let's say, 10,000 customers in the next 1 year, right? This is my story of becoming big. That is where the difference between a startup and a business comes. Business can grow at a small pace, but startups need crazy amount of growth. They raise crazy amounts of capital just because they could invest that and get larger growth. So what a business would do in the next, let's say, 8 to 10 years, a startup plans to do that in the next 2 years, right? That is where the growth comes on. That is where there is a higher reward in startups, right? So there's always one financial principle which says that higher the risk, higher the reward. So since the risk is the highest here, the reward also has to be highest. And in order to have the reward as the highest probability, startups need to grow till that level so that they can reward their investors with handsome returns, right? So that is the story, right? And of course, all of this is something which is not written on investing agreements, but this is the psychology of money, right? This is the behavioral aspect of money, our expectations, our returns. Second thing, again, moving ahead, when you're raising capital, again, as I said, you need to have a plan, you need to have a vision of where will you put that capital into growth. Most of the early stage startups do one thing wrong. They make, now you know the story. So just imagine that story playing into your mind. A startup comes to you and say, please fund us. We'll be the best company for you to fund us. We'll be the best investing company of yours. Now you are making the riskiest investment. Everybody would come and claim to be the best, right? No one would come and say, I'm a failure, don't fund me, right? Everyone would claim to be the best. So then you can't go ahead and fund everyone as well. You have limited capital, right? You have X amount of capital. You can't put that amount into every startup which is out there. By the way, India has close to about 8,300 plus startups. So even if you put 5 lakhs each into every startup, even if you put 5 lakhs each, you're putting a total corpus of over 4,000 crores. So imagine that. So there's such a big opportunity. You have to decide which areas you work in. Now, second thing you will say, Adi, how should I define risk, right? If there is risk is there in everyone. But how do I define that, okay, which ones to go for, which one is less risky? That is where I think a point comes from an experience where I say, it's very hard to define risk, right? Let's say if a business is doing well, tomorrow the police comes and finds that the founder was involved in some betting case. Things go wrong. You would not aware of that, right? But bad things can happen from anywhere, right? So it's very hard to define risk. Define the founders, their story, their passion first, and define how you can help them grow to the next level. Now consider two situations. There is one where your dad says, "Beta, take this pocket money, 200 rupees, and take it with you." You will say, "I'm happy. I've got 200 rupees." Second thing, your dad says, "Take this pocket money, 200 rupees. I'll also teach you a way to make 200 into 400." Right? So that is where the greed sets in. Now you're not just satisfied with 200. You know that there is an option to double it. So that is why the investors you want. You just don't want the money, right? You just don't want the money. You need their experience. You need their expertise. You need their understanding. You need their guidance. You need their connections to make that 200 rupees that they are investing 400. So on one aspect, now let's conclude this. On one aspect, we are saying that if I invest 200 rupees into a startup, I'm taking a lot of risk. On the other hand, I'm saying if I add my value to the startup, am I hedging risk to some extent? Yes, that is the thing. I'm hedging that risk because I'm saying now I'll provide my expertise. I'll now provide my value. I'll now provide my resources and ensure that the startup goes to the next level. Right? So this is where we actually differentiate between a startup and a business, and more importantly, a difference between an investor who's passive and an investor who's active. So always be an active investor. Help startups do whatever best you can. I'm not saying that just leave your job and sit with them 24/7. You can't do that. We have invested in 47 companies. We can't sit with everyone every day. If I even do 1 startup per day, I can't do that even in a month. Month has 31 days. I have 47 startups, and that number keeps on increasing. By then, if we talk 2 weeks from now on, that number would be 52, right? So then it's important that you segregate, you delegate, and then you also put money into those startups only where you can help, where you have your expertise on, right? For those of you who are watching Shark Tank, there's a very popular meme going on which says, "This is not my expertise, I'll pass it," right? So something which is not your expertise, we generally end up passing. Let's say if I tell you that invest in cryptocurrency, yeah, I'm out, right? So invest in cryptocurrency. You would say, I have no idea about cryptocurrency. Why would I invest in a startup which is in cryptocurrency? So that is why pick your startups in which you can provide strategic value. You can add your connections, right? And that is what you're seeing at Shark Tank as well. So Namita is expert in pharma. So she takes more of pharma, lifestyle oriented businesses. Aman is more into marketing, brand building. He takes more around that. Piyush Bansal or Lenskart is more into technology businesses. So he takes up more around technology. Right? That is, it's very important to segregate where you are going towards. My background is more into sports, more into entertainment, more into food. So I would invest in those similar startups, right, which are of my expertise. That's the thing. And last thing, of course, a value adding thing that I want to say to all of you is startup investing is very risky, right? It's the riskiest investment again you'll ever make. Riskiest. Even crypto is more safe than startups these days. Even cryptocurrency, if you have been seeing the market, there are a lot of instruments which give you guaranteed returns, right? A lot of platforms on which you can lend cryptocurrency, get assured returns. Startups are risky. There is no platform, neither there ever be, where you can get assured returns. Because if a business goes down, it goes down. Nothing is assured in it, right? So that's why I'm saying don't jump into startups investing just right. Don't have that FOMO. All of us have that FOMO. Oh my God, the world is investing into cryptocurrency. I am not investing anything. The world is investing in IPOs. I am not investing anything. The world is investing into gold. I am not investing in anything. Don't have that fear of missing out, right? Always make rational decisions. Never make sentimental decisions. Investing is not about sentiments or emotions. Investments are all about fundamentals, right? So that is why in startup investing, it's risky. It's also expensive, right? It takes time to, of course, gather your wealth, your capital, so that you can distribute that capital in various startups. And the reason I say this is because the amount of risk that you're taking, you should try and put in a significant amount of investment as well so that you can get a greater reward, right? So that is why build your wealth. You are right now in college, you are right now studying. Build your wealth slowly and gradually so you can start investing in startups. Even with me, 5 years I invested nothing, had no company in the portfolio, put my all of the capital that I had on my own, right? In college I used to do stand-up comedy just so that I can earn more money on it. I used to do two jobs, two to three some part-time jobs just so that I can earn more money, right? So it looks, of course, very, very stargazing that you can start investing at 24 as well, and there's Aditya. But don't go without the hustle. Build your wealth, build your capital first. Build your startups, build your enterprises. Prove something that you're there in life. Because if you do that, you can also add value, right, into every investment that you make. So yes, this is how you go about a bit about raising capital. I try to keep it as simple as I can, and would love to take more questions from you. So thank you guys for listening.
Thank you so much. That was really, really nice. I'm sure it clarified a lot of doubts that a lot of must have that because related to raising capital, and you made it very easy. I'm sure now. I'm sure you are able to see the messages, right? They are the
Yeah.
ones they're writing. Yeah. So if there are any questions, guys, you can please type it out.
But if you guys love the session, honestly, do write a far in the chat. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Fard, by the way, means a Hindi word for awesome. So we kept the name of the company as Fard.
Yeah, that's really nice. Unique and very picky. It picks
Thank
up
you guys.
fast. Great. So I'm sure everyone loved the session. They're spamming.
Thank you guys. And yep, keep a lot of funny stories around Fard. So when we keep the
Sure,
name,
please share. Please share.
when we kept the name as Fard, a lot of people say कि Fard का मतलब क्या होता है? Is it fad? Is it fad the English
Yeah,
word?
yeah, the pronunciation, of course.
Or is it fad the Middle East word fad, right? It's some Middle Eastern word, Arabic word. So it's nothing. It's the pure Hindi Punjabi word fad. हम पंजाबी हैं, so we believe in fading, right? So once he met to an investor and say कि आप लोग कहाँ से हैं? मैंने कहा फाड़ से. तो क्या करते हैं? तो गलती से मेरे मुंह से निकल गया कि सर हम फाड़ते हैं, मतलब वी लिटरली. एंड से क्या फाड़ते हो? मैंने कहा सर बस खुद की ना हो और so he end up believing in that. So yeah, that's the funny name of art. And anyone,
Yeah.
lot of time it happens that anyone who's kind of discussing on social media, they would mistakenly tag us as Fard, and we said, God, look at the
It
comments.
got really popular.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, so we can take questions. Please do type out your questions.
I hope you guys understood. So there are only two scenarios in which no question comes. Either you've understood everything or nothing. So I hope you've understood. I think there's one question in the chat.
Yeah, there is. Should I read it out?
Sure.
Yeah. Sir, should one focus on businesses that require less capital first?
So I'll not say that focus on businesses that require less capital, because anyways, if a business requires less capital, you need more capital to grow to the next level, right? It's all about speed. So I would say, don't raise capital right from start. It's not that you started just a company right now and you're saying that raise a capital, right? Put some of your own capital. Show to the investor that you are also invested in this, right? You've also put your hard blood, sweat, tears, and even your capital in the company. And then with limited capital, try to generate returns first, right? It should not just be in an air, right? That I'm starting a startup, invest. You should have a market planning. You should have some traction as well, that people are buying your product or service, right? Some validation should be there. So do that with your own capital, and then go out and seek larger capital from investors.
There's another question. I have a doubt regarding how to understand market capital.
So not sure, Aman, what do you mean by market capital? You can maybe write down more in the chat. I need more explanation of the
Yeah.
question.
Right. Okay. There's another question. Pavitra asked, at which stage of startup your company far invest in?
Got it. Very nice question. So we invest at an early stage. So right when a business, of course, not just an idea, when business has registered its company, it's there as a entity. It's should be making some little amounts of revenue, right? If it's 5 lakhs or 7 lakhs or 10 lakhs, the number does not matter, but some little amount of validation that this thing works. Whatever I am claiming, people are paying for it. And the only way to check is, if people are paying for it, they're finding value in it, right? So that thing should work. So small amount of money is required. It's not that we haven't invested in startups which don't have revenue. We have, but then the founder is that strong person. We've taken a belief and confidence in founders. So if you have that background where you've sold companies and you're coming from that background, then you can raise without revenue as well. But having revenue is important. So we invest when companies market operational, it's there in the market and it's generating early revenue, have early customers in hand.
Suesh has another question. What is more important than idea to attract investors?
So as I said, idea is the last thing investor looks at, because ideas are like hotcakes. Everyone has one, right? So you need more than idea. You need the team, right? The team comes in, the person who's running the show. Everything would change in the long run, right? An idea changes, market changes, business changes, technology changes. But founder, the passion, the vision should not change ideally, right? So that is where, more importantly than idea is the least important thing. First thing is the person and the problem you are trying to solve, right? How big that problem is, right? So that problem is important, but more than problem, it's all about the people. We invest in people, never in PPTs or in charts or in business plans. So yeah.
There is a little bit confusion. Prince is saying that he's confused between startup and business.
So I'll make it like very clear. As I said, businesses are also startups, but businesses are a bit of slow growth businesses. Startups are more hyper growth businesses, right? So for example, if I open up a restaurant, I can still sell it without any online marketing, digital marketing, right? I can have my neighborhoods who come in and sell. But if I don't list on Zomato, right? If I don't open up multiple kitchens, if I don't do branding, if I don't hire influencers, if I don't do all of that, then I'll grow very slowly, right? So the reason you do this is startups is because they need crazy amounts of growth in little time, right? And that is why capital is being raised. A business does not raise venture capital. A startup raises venture capital. So that is a very small hairline difference that I see between a startup and a business.
I hope your doubt is clear, Prince. Another question is, what is an investor looking for before investing?
I guess I've already answered this question that we look at team. I call it the 5 T's of investing, and that I've made an Instagram reel on it as well. First is team, traction, technology, target market, and your terms of investment. So team, as I said, team, technology that you're using, target market, which customer segment you are targeting, traction, as I said, what sales you have, what growth you have, what people are buying your service or not. And terms of investment means how much capital you raise in what equity. So that you have heard at Shark Tank, right? This much amount of or this percent equity. That is terms of investment. Yeah. I'm so happy Shark Tank India is coming. First, for the way that I have to explain now less around how things work. You are seeing practical examples now.
Yeah, right. So who is your icon?
So I think the icon again, I follow multiple people and I respect them for the work that they've done. But I think I very closely follow Mr. Ratan Tata for his also his excellence in kind of the way he's turned around Tata, but more so for his simplicity. That no matter whatever level of success you achieve, but you're always preached for your humility. You're always preached for who you are as a person. Again, as I said, we invest in people, right? So no matter even if you have a great business, but if you're not the right person, if you're not humble, if you're not polite, if you're not helpful, then yeah, you're very hard to remember. So that's why I follow him for his simplicity. Yeah.
Sir, how did you start your journey in your early days? Like any book or any other source?
So there were a few books that I started reading and a few reports as well on startups. So books, I was reading 0 to 1, which was very popular back then. There is Lean Startup, which is a book you should read. $100 Startup, which has recently come. A lot of books around entrepreneurship, then biographies of Elon Musk, biographies of Satya Nadella. I think they also help you to navigate your path. Then watching a lot of docu-series on Silicon Valley. It's very inspired by Silicon Valley, San Francisco. So watching a lot of documentaries. In fact, I used to there's a show called as Silicon Valley as well on Hotstar, which I was very intrigued towards. So yeah, I think I've learned from multiple sources and reports. EY, KPMG, all these, of course, institutions, even SEBI, they publish reports time to time around startups. So that was one thing. Second thing that I did, but more so the third thing that I did helped me learn the most, which was talking to more and more people. Right. My first 2 years were just around interviewing people, and I interviewed close to about 120 people in 2 years. So that is from where I closely interviewed them, went to their house, sat, had lunch with them, understood their perspective. That was the 2 years of my life that I did. Right. So that has helped me learn a lot because the experiences that tell you, no book tells you that, right? So learn from experiences, and humans are one of the best books you should read. So definitely talk to more and more people, learn from their experiences.
Thank you. That was some great suggestions. How to pitch people for raising capital? How do you do that?
So again, it's a long drawn process. I'll not go into, of course, the depth of it because that would take again 2-3 hours just to explain who are all the people, how do you approach, how do you prepare a plan. But on a nutshell, you figure out that who investors put money into these and these sectors, right? Which sector you are in. So if you're in gaming, which investors are active in gaming, and then approach them through reference, through a network. Don't approach them directly that, hi Shruti, would you like to invest in my company? Shruti is like, You are a stranger to me, right? We don't even know you, and how do you expect me to give you $1 million? So there's no validation. So if, let's say, Sarthak is a friend of Shruti, so I'll probably approach Sarthak, and then through Sarthak I'll approach Shruti, right? So approach through network and identify who investors would invest at ideally the stage you are in and the domain you are in.
Will the startups focused on upcoming technologies, which are at the moment the trademark of MNC, be very risky or very fruitful, like a small startup focused on electric bicycles or tricycles, which are presently manufactured especially by Tesla?
Very nice question. Any question directed indirectly towards Elon Musk always gets me thinking as to how should I answer it. Because Tesla can do anything in this world. Tesla can come tomorrow and say we are launching Tesla helipads, and they can do that as well, provided,
Yeah,
of course,
right.
Indian government supports them. But so upcoming technology startups have started focusing on, right? India is a growing hub for innovation, of course, not at the pace we want it to be, but a lot of innovative startups are coming up. Some of them you would have seen in Shark Tank only, ideas you would have never heard before. So it's kind of interesting. Um, Trademark, everything is a very fine line. So, like, you don't hold anything. Let's say you have a medicine, right? Which is, let's say, let's keep it ABCD for simplistic name. Then tomorrow I say that my name of the medicine is BACD. Those are the chemical elements. So although the salts are the same and everything, the composition I've changed. So trademark does not get violated. So these are very small, minor nuances. But just that do your research that what kind of technology we can differentiate with. It's not about developing the best website or developing the best platform that is out there. It's all about how simple my technology can be, sorry, and how useful can it be. That's the only two things you require. Even if it's a simple Google form, but it's helping you to get your results, so then be with it. Don't develop some fancy stuff which may not be good for you. So have a simple technology and it should be useful. That's the only thing you need.
Right. When you invest in a company, you found financial person as a co-founder or a advisor mainly, and which one is good?
Kind of a very sharky question. I think I should have never shared my story of the fart. I should have left at that because there were no questions. But the way of questions which have come in after that, anyways. So as a co-founder or an advisor mainly, okay, and which one is good? So see, financial person is more like defined in various ways. Your CA is also a financial person. Your CFO, your chief financial officer of the company, is also a finance person. Someone who handles your accounts is also a financial person. So first you need to identify what level of importance does this person hold in the organization, what values they can add, and what level of knowledge sharing do I need to take from the person. If that makes sense, right, then have that person as a co-founder, right, joining a company. But if you don't think then that kind of a role is required, or that kind of an importance is required, that you just need advice, consulting, just then don't have that as a co-founder, right? So for example, if you pitch to me and you say, Aditya, you have a knack on financials, help me with a balance sheet. I'm like, okay, I can help you. Like I can just prepare your documents here and then I can help you. But if you say, Aditya, I need daily inputs on how to manage my employees, how much salary, how much, then you are moving into more of a daily operational things. Then I'm not just a person anymore. You're looking me as a partner, right? So then it makes sense to have a co-founder in place, and then it makes more sense to have a person in place. But before that, I think take a conscious decision accordingly. Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's questions are clarified and they got a clear idea what they were asking. I don't see any more questions. I have one. So, what was the deciding moment when you decided, like, you can get into investing and helping other startups?
Uh, so it's again a very long story. Then sometimes people ask me, "Are you really 24?" Because my life has a lot of long stories. But that is the reason. I've been in this industry since 17 years old, so it's almost year 7 for me. So I have a lot of long stories in my life. But one short, I'll of course make it very, very short, is the first set of companies that I picked up. I realized that startups in India cannot do everything that is there. You need to be very focused on what you want to do. So we realized that we need to start with investing. And when I set out to start looking for evaluate companies, it took me a long, long while to look for the right ones. But when I found one company which was doing amazingly well, I took that up. But they were not getting any investor support. So all the investors were very confused because it was a traditional business model which is out there. There was no innovation, no technology. But how would you invest in that startup? So I picked that company. We worked with them. That company was trying to produce eyewear glasses, right? Something what Lenskart does. But again, this was more for the mass market. Lenskart is not for the mass market. Their eyewear glasses comes at 1400, 1500 rupees. Right. So we decided that there's a very wide space in India where people require glasses. It's a necessity, right? And since it's required by everyone, not everyone can afford it as well. Right? So then you need to put it at a price where most of the people find it affordable. So I realized that there's a wide space in India. People are not doing all of these models, and we set out to set up these shops in rural India's. And I picked that company for investment. Took me 6 months to get the first investor. They had one eyewear optical store, but within 2 years they moved to 50 plus optical stores, right? And they grew massively. And I was convinced that this is where I would want to invest in. And that company till date today has 114 stores now across the country, and recently raised capital from the founder of Oyo as well, Ritesh Agarwal. And that was our first investment. So when I picked that company up, I realized that I have a knack for picking up companies because I figured out that company has nothing, business model is missing, but the founder is there. So you need to, again, that's why I say pick the right people, pick the right horses to ride on, and you would ultimately go very, very far in your life. So,
Wow, that was really an amazing story. We have a couple more questions. Sarthak's question is, Sir, how to keep balance between work, family, and ourselves, especially because entrepreneurial world can get pretty stressful.
uh, very, very stressful here. So one thing is just be very passionate of what you're doing. But if you're not finding passion in this, every day is so much stress. Like my mornings are talking about a company, ki sir, we need more capital. My afternoons are talking with the company, sir, we have raised more capital and now we don't know what to do. My evenings are with the company that, sir, we are not getting any capital, what to do. My nights are with the company, sir, we utilized our capital, but it did not go well. Now what to do? Like such different challenges come into your day every day. My day is so action packed into so many things, so many stuffs that you do, multiple stuffs that you do, right? So if you are not passionate into this, you can't do this for long, right? So just be passionate. Have and don't, like, I say this for myself as well, that don't try to prove yourself every time, right? That I need to do this so that I can prove myself. Have that conviction, of course, that you want to achieve something in life, but don't set out to prove yourself every time, because when you do that, you realize that you have lost your own bit of self, your own personal space, right? Have a space between family, friends, and keep your friends closer as well, right? Keep your family closer as well. Not a lot of people will support you initially. That's the truth, right? Things take time to come up, but if you don't have any support, it gets very lonely as well, this whole space, right? So don't enter into that space where you don't find someone to fall back upon, right? And yeah, just enjoy the journey. Don't take too much stress that I have to achieve or prove myself. So much startups are doing so many things. And yep, I hope now my parents, which I could have told this myself 3 4 years earlier, that don't set out to prove yourself. Focus on your mental health as well, right? There'll be bad days, there'll be good days. Hopefully, you have more good than bad ones. But even if on bad days, you kind of just stick there. That's what I want. The only thing that's required in a bad day is just that you don't say no, right? You just stick there. That's it. You know you are having a bad day. I know that even today as well, I have so many bad days. I have to pass through the day, stick through the day, and tomorrow will be somewhere where I love to capitalize on from early on. So that's how you kind of set out a balance between work and also motivate yourself, push yourself to keep going on.
There's another question. How do I determine my startup cost and other expenses?
Guys, a lot of your questions, no. What I'll do is I'll put the link of my Instagram, YouTube channel as well, which I've recently started, where I've explained all these questions into depth: cost, how to reduce cost, how to improve technology, how to
Yeah,
look at evaluate businesses. So I just dropped the link, right? So make sure you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well. I produce a very long form content there where I talk into depth about these stuffs and how do various startups have done that. So um, this is where the link is attached and you can find it here.
that's really great. I think it would be really helpful for everyone. You can have a like in-depth knowledge of what he's saying. There's another question, but I think it's getting repetitive. What do investors focus on when they invest in any startup? I mean, how do they value it? I mean, it's been answered already. So,
Yeah. So this channel, go ahead and look at it. Even if you don't subscribe it, it's okay. I'm not looking for subscribers. Just go ahead and have a look at the content, and
yeah.
you'll try to get more idea on what are these things work like. What is ESOPs or what is cost reduction? What is cost control? So I try to explain that in simple layman terms with practical examples. At least tried my best to do that. So go ahead and you can and yeah, I try to reply to comments as well. So if you have any questions, so you can write it out there. Thanks Pavitra for pointing that out here.
So that's great. I think everybody got a channel to be connected to you in future as well. I mean, I'm sure they'll all check this out and it will help them to great extent. I don't see any more questions and we're getting close to 7. If you have any more fun stories, I mean, of course there are long ones, but if you could cut it out a little bit and just share some of the great
fun,
stories you have.
fun stories.
Yeah,
uh,
fun stories.
so I'll make it's not the stand-up comedy ones. Those are like another level of fun altogether, but
Yeah,
that would
right.
require a longer session to sit with you guys and explain the whole story. But yeah, one time it happened when I was teaching at IIM Bangalore. So I was teaching venture capital and all that, and I was again very young. I was 21 back then. So I came to the class early and I sat in the front row. Students were attending a festival or something, and they had to come after the festival, so it was taking some time. So now when I sat in the front row, a teacher came in and she said that this row is reserved only for the lecturers and the faculty and the speakers. It's not for students. So she was like, go and sit at the back. And I was like, ma'am, like, I'll tell you, like, this is not the case. I wanted to tell. She's like, no, 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 no. And she was like, the speaker is coming anytime soon. Just go and sit at the back. So I sat at the back. And then when the entire class hall got full, they announced that speaker is Aditya. And then I stood from behind and then I came to the forefront. And then that teacher gives me a face, the sorry face. Give it a sorry. I did not know that you were the lecturer here because you looked so young. So so I was like, ma'am, it's okay. It's like a lot of people differentiate. Like, it's okay. I did not even have my beard back then. So I was looking even 2 years, even more younger. So she said sorry, but I think we had a good laugh that don't judge anyone by age.
Yeah, so basically at the end it was a good day.
It was a good day. It was a good day. But that teacher for the whole 1.5 hours kind of just kept saying
Yeah, she
sorry.
must be very nervous. She was like, oh God, I made a mess.
Be like very nervous. And I was like, ma'am, next time if I
Yeah,
have to come to, I'll dye my hair white and come. She was like, no, 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 please don't do that. Now I know that you are a professor here. So please don't do that.
right. There's one more question. What did you focus on to maintain a positive cash flow in your business?
And again, it's a very detailed question. So again,
So I think,
I'll drop the link of the channel again. Just go ahead and
right.
subscribe to this. I'll talk more in depth about each of the questions you've asked genuinely.
So that's great. I think we all really loved the session. It was amazing, amazingly interactive, fun stories. Experience was, I think your experience taught us a lot. And I'm sure a lot of people got a lot of insight into what they'll be doing or if they plan to do something of this sort. And of course, like Ashutosh is saying, the name of the company went literal with in the front. So yeah, it was really a far session, if I can say that. And yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you so much for joining us, for taking out time out of your busy schedule. And yeah, it is really appreciated. I hope
Thank
everyone stays connected to you with the channel and they get their doubts cleared.
Absolutely. Look forward, guys. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
thank
to
you
the
so
team.
much.
Thank you so much, everyone, guys.